You guys have been asking video after video, so I'm about to start dropping some knowledge on y'all and letting y'all know how to cook barbecue the right way. And there's no better way for me to teach you how to cook barbecue on your carnivore diet journey than to fire up one of these smokers behind me and show you how it's done. The first thing I want to talk about before you even fire up a pit, I'll tell you this, and this is a great thing to know when it comes to barbecue. Make sure that you get the best pit, barbecue pit, that you can afford. Whatever your budget may be, we all have different budgets, guys. But look, I have grills at several different budgets. One of my pits is about $400. Some of them, one of them's like $700, another one's like $1,000. I have a pit out back that's like $9,000 and maybe more now because the price of steel has went up and it weighs 2,500 pounds. But here's the thing, guys, get the best that you can afford because the airflow in it will work better. If you get really cheap and flimsy, you'll have issues with airflow and things like that. So everyone's budget's different, but get what you can afford. So today I'm going to use my S&S kettle grill, and I'll drop a link to it in this video. This is it right here behind me. And the reason I'm using this one is it's only $300 to $400 and you can make tremendous barbecue with it, and I'll prove it right now. So the second thing I want to talk to y'all about is airflow. And I'll show you real quick on this little S&S grill. It's different with every smoker, but heat rises, okay? So it's gonna come in from, the air's gonna come in from the bottom, but when you have a fire in your smoker, whether it be charcoal or wood or whatever, if you're using a wood smoker or pellet grill or whatever, your air's gonna come in down low. You have to find the balance between having the air coming in from down low and letting air out up top. If you back off the top too much, your top vent, then you're just going to have too much smoke in there and it's going to smolder. Sometimes you can have it too far open on some smokers and it will just be roaring through there and it'll get too high of temp, and you don't want that. It'll overcook your meat. Your meat will get burnt on the edges and you don't want that either. On this S&S smoker, there's a little hole at the bottom. I like to leave it about halfway open and then control my temp from the top vent so the air's coming in here. Now I do that when I'm smoking meat, but if I'm grilling, I can use this thing right here and open it all the way up or close it all the way down. So when I'm grilling, I like to leave it open some. You can find what works for you, but that's how you adjust your airflow at the bottom. And remember, guys, a fire needs air to breathe. So the third thing to fire maintenance is making sure that you don't put too much charcoal for your size of smoker. And what I like about this S&S grill is, you see how it's got this basket right here? It's keeping all your charcoal to one side, to this side, and then I'm gonna put my grate over here, and then I'll smoke my meat on the opposite side of where the fire is. But for those of y'all that like to reverse sear, and I do it all the time with this grill, you can smoke your meat on the cool side and then sear it right over the coals at the end to get that reverse sear. So I'll admit that nothing beats cooking with real wood, but when you're using charcoal like this, a thing that you can do, I'll show you right here. This is hickory wood chunks. You can get them at like Walmart, and a bunch of different stores sell them. You can use these to put over your charcoal and it will help you out, but don't put too much of it because it doesn't burn as clean as a normal wood smoker would, or a stick burner you would call it. So don't put tons of wood in here. Put like 2, maybe 3 pieces. I normally put 3 pieces, but this is a big piece, so I'm only gonna put 2 pieces. So one way that you can light it is with these things called tumbleweeds. This right here comes from a company called Royal Oak. Go to your grilling section at whatever store you get your grilling products. Another thing is you can use these little cubes. They're called fire starters. I can't remember the brand, but they're called fire starters. I'm out of the Weber white cubes, but there's little cubes from Weber that you can use that as well. So I'm gonna just put, and a trick is, if you start your coals on one side, it'll be kind of like a snake method, and it'll slowly cook to one, or your coals will slowly burn to the other side, and it'll make your coals last longer. Because if you light all these coals at one time, then it's gonna burn out quick, and you're gonna have to add more coals more often, which isn't a problem with this grill because it has, I mean, it's easy to put more charcoal in here, but I'm gonna put it to one side and get it lit. Put it down here, both of them, show you both ways work. The moment of truth. Let's light this one. And it is windy outside, so it might take a second. Let's light these. So I'm getting both of them lit. You see them lit? And then we'll get to cooking. See, we're starting to get us a fire over there. Just give it time. Let your smoker do its thing. Let's get into tip number 4. So tip number 4, guys, is do not rush your barbecue. I hear people all the time tell me, man, I wish I could make great barbecue, and how long does it take? How long does it take? How long does it take? 10 hours? Does it take 8 hours? Does it take 6 hours? Your food is going to be ready when it's done. The thing about barbecue is you have to give it time for the meat, for the muscle to break down. Like if you're cooking a brisket, they're very, very tough. If you tried to cook a brisket like a steak, it would be extremely tough. So guys, you have to give it time to break down. And for example, over here, my smoker is going right now, but I'm not going to just throw the meat on there immediately, because if you throw the meat on that smoker immediately, it's going to get like an over smoked flavor. You want to let your smoker run for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then put your meat on there. Let's focus on getting our temperatures right, and then toss our meat on there, and you're going to get a better product at the end. And so the ribs that I'm going to cook, they actually came off of the prime ribs whenever Publix did the sale that a lot of you guys were getting the prime ribs for $6.99 a pound. So I actually cut the bones off of these, and I decided to cook them like beef ribs. And so to cook them like beef ribs, I'm going to take them up to like, and I don't even cook by temperature. That's going to be number 5. Rule number 5 would be, don't cook by temperature when you're cooking large cuts of meat like ribs and brisket and pork butt and things like that. Cook until it's probe tender, because that's what you're trying to do, is break the muscle down. And I'll tell you, it might be around 205 degrees. It could be 210, 212 degrees. I have an instant read thermometer that I use, but it's mainly to see how the meat feels. I just probe it. You could use a toothpick if that's all you got. But I would recommend, if you're going to be carnivore and you're going to eat meat a lot, get you an instant read thermometer. So like if you're cooking a steak, you'll know what temp you want to take it off. I like to take my steaks to around 137, 138, sometimes 132. It depends on if I want it more rare or if I want it more medium rare. I just set the grate in here, and it has a little lip on it, so you can add more charcoal if you want to. That's a cool thing about it. I'm going to show y'all a trick that a lot of people in barbecue know this trick. If you want to speed up lighting these coals quicker, you could do it 2 different ways. I guess this could be tip number 6. One way is you could use a chimney starter. You can get one of these for 15 or 20 bucks at any store you want to get one. This is a Weber chimney starter. You could put your charcoal in here and put it on here and light it with a tumbleweed underneath it or a cube underneath it. That's one trick, but I'll show you another trick too. Now, one trick that I'm not going to show y'all is the way I light my big smoker out in the backyard. I actually have like a propane tank, and I have a flamethrower, and I'll throw the flame on it and it will light it up in like a minute. It'll have that whole smoker roaring. But if you have a leaf blower, you can use that and just slowly go over the coals, and you can get it going quicker. That's a trick that you can do to get your pit a little bit hotter, a little bit quicker. And that's for free, guys. This tip is for free. them cherries in the bottom, they'll get going. Once they get going, it'll slowly work its way over. But see, if I had lit over there and over here, I would be burning it up way quicker. And if you're wondering why my smoker's dirty, it's because I actually use these things. A lot of people have them, they don't never use them. They'll clean it and they might use it once a year on Christmas or Thanksgiving. I go to war with these things. One thing that's cool about this smoker, it's got a little shelf that comes with it, so you can put stuff. I can put a full 20-pound bag of charcoal on this shelf, so that's a pretty neat little feature. I want to give a quick shout out to Miss Patricia Hardebeck. She sent me this rub. It's from Suckle Busters. It's called their original SPG. I'm actually going to use that for the first time today with these beef ribs. And like I said, these came off of a prime rib. I cut them in half so they would fit in the little bag whenever I was saving them in the freezer. But anyway, I'm going to season them up real quick and then we'll be ready to cook, y'all. This rub smells wonderful. Let's get it on these ribs. And that's an awesome way to support my channel. If you like my content, is to go on my Amazon wish list. I always leave it in my description of my videos, every video. And you can go in there and like I put different stuff like that. And then I put things like camera gear. I put things, different things for my studio. Just things that are going to help my channel, guys. So let's season these ribs. And it is windy outside, so that's why you're seeing, you might be seeing on the camera that stuff's flying different places. But anyway, let's get them seasoned up. Don't overcomplicate it. Normally the higher you hold your bottle of rub, the more it will spread out evenly over your meat whenever you're trying to season it. And you can judge on how much seasoning you like on your ribs, but rule number 7, always get the edges. When you're cooking barbecue, always season the edges of your meat, because that's where a lot of people are going to get that barky bite at the end, and you don't want that part to be unseasoned. See them rib bones? That came straight off the prime rib, guys. Get it seasoned up. And like I said, the wind is rough today, but I'm doing this for you guys. I hope I can show y'all something in the next so many videos that I do about barbecue, because I want you guys to know how to cook barbecue, because it's awesome to feed your family great food and it saves money cooking at home. And when you learn how to cook barbecue the right way, a restaurant will not beat this. I promise you, a restaurant will not beat this. So tip number 8, guys, is don't listen to people when they say you have to cook barbecue at 225 degrees. That is a myth. That is not true at all. I cook excellent barbecue at 225 degrees, 250 degrees, 275 degrees, 300 degrees. I've made it at 325 degrees. And in my drum smoker, not this one right here, but the one farther back, in that smoker, I can go at 400 degrees and cook a brisket if I want to, and it'll still be good. Now, once you start getting over 300 degrees, it does start cooking a little bit too quickly. So whenever that happens, it will cause you to lose a little bit of smoke flavor, because the meat isn't getting to stay on the pit long enough to take on the most amount of smoke flavor. Your meat takes on 90% of its smoke flavor in the first little bit of the cook when the meat's still cold. Once your meat in barbecue starts getting over 130, 140 degrees, it doesn't really take on as much flavor anymore. And that's why a lot of guys, they don't care when they wrap at 165 or 175, things like that. But here's a trick too. You don't have to wrap your barbecue. If you have to wrap, that means that you're not cooking it perfectly. And because I will cook these ribs unwrapped, and let's eat them anyway unwrapped, and I bet you they'll still be good. If your barbecue pit is really small, it is better in that scenario to keep your fire or temps lower, like 225 to 250, because there's not as much space between the meat and the actual metal of the pit, and you can burn your meat just from the radiant heat coming off of the metal. So like if your pit's like this big, which it would be bigger than that, but I'm saying, for example, if your pit's like this and then your meat's right up on the edges, you can burn your meat while it's cooking. So in this pit, a smaller pit, I normally run 250, sometimes 275. But in my pit out back, my Shirley, and that's my baby, I'll run it at 275, 300, 325 and make meat incredible, and you will not taste the difference. And you get your meat cooked quicker. Let's go ahead and toss our meat on this cool side. Let's toss our ribs on the cool side, and then let's let it go night-night. Tip number 9 when using a pit, you want your top vent to be aimed towards where your meat is. So you have your fire over here and you have your meat over here. So you want your top vent on the side where the meat is at. So I told you guys that I'm not gonna wrap these ribs. I'm doing that to prove to you that you can make good barbecue even without wrapping it. Now normally, I'll be truthful, that normally I do wrap my ribs, and I'll normally take them until I like the color that they got. I go by color and feel, make sure it's got a good bark on it when I touch it, make sure it's got a good dark color that I like, and don't overthink this, guys, but then I'll wrap them in butcher paper. Sometimes I use aluminum foil if I'm out of butcher paper, and wrap these ribs up, and then I would put some Wagyu tallow in there because I love the flavor of the Wagyu beef tallow, and I just love that Wagyu flavor, and it adds a little moisture as well and a little extra fat because Wagyu tallow is beef fat. But today I'm going to prove to you that you don't have to do that, and you can still make great ribs. I'm going to leave them unwrapped, so you won't see these ribs again until I'm getting ready to temp them and make sure that they're good and tender and pull them off this pit. Surprise, I decided to show y'all the meat, that way y'all get hungry. I'm cooking right at 250 degrees like I told y'all, but if it goes a little above it or a little below it, that ain't a big deal. There's my meat. It's looking good already. I got my little instant read thermometer here, and to show y'all that I'm not checking temperature, I'm gonna flip it backwards so that I can't check the temperature, and I'm gonna just probe this meat. I know that it's not, I'm hitting a bone right now. I know that it's not ready, but it is getting a good crust. It definitely has a good crust on it. I used to put apple cider and vinegar and all that stuff in spritz. I haven't done that in a long time since I started Carnivore, but it's not necessary. You could just put water in a spray jug and spritz it with a little bit of water as well. I want to send out a very, very special thank you to Miss Patricia Hardebeck. Miss Patricia Hardebeck is an awesome person, and she has sent some stuff that's really going to help me. She sent a bunch of stuff to my Amazon wish list recently, and I'm going to shout out a couple of those items real quick. So she sent some black pepper, because I love 16 mesh coarse black pepper. That's what I like to cook with a lot. So she sent me a pound bag of that. She also sent that SPG rub by Suckle Busters that I'm using for these ribs right now. And she also sent me a bike lot that goes on my new bike, and I want to do a video soon where when I do my weigh-in, I might ride my bike a little bit if the weather's good. The weather's been rough a little lately. And another cool thing that she sent me some smoked Maldon salt. Like, I normally love to use the Maldon salt that I believe Jamie E sent me some Maldon salt a while back, and I love it, but I wanted to try the smoked kind, so I put some on my wish list, and thank you so much for picking that up, Patricia. Also, she sent 5 cases of sparkling water, and if it wasn't her that sent all 5, I know she sent at least 3 of the cases, and then 3 arrived at one time, and then like the next day 2 arrived, or vice versa. And thank you for sending those sparkling waters. It's the LaCroix sparkling water. I love all sparkling water as long as it doesn't have anything in it. It's got to be like unflavored. And not that I don't love the others, but I do feel like I do better on my carnivore journey by having plain sparkling water. So thank you, Miss Patricia, for sending that to me. God bless you for doing that. Last tip, guys. Get you some cotton white gloves and put them underneath your black doctor gloves, nitrile gloves, whatever you want to call them when you're cooking barbecue. The white cotton gloves protects you from the heat. The black doctor gloves, they don't have to be black. They can be blue, whatever, pink. I don't know what all colors they got. Man, I'm a country boy. I don't know all the colors. But whatever color you want, whatever color you prefer, get you some gloves. The white gloves protects you from the heat. The black gloves or the doctor gloves protect you from the moisture. So you can pick up this meat with your bare hands. All right, guys, these ribs should be done now. Ain't they looking good? You got to get them in between the bones. Oh yeah, that's tender. You got to get in between the bones. That's tender. 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 So now that these ribs are done, guess what that means? We're going to get them off this pit. We're going to get them off this pit, get them in the house, let them rest at least 15 minutes. You can go 30 minutes or longer if you want to. Now, if it's a larger piece of meat like a brisket, minimum an hour, but I like it 2 to 3 hours, even better on a brisket and pork butt and things like that, at least an hour. But on these ribs, 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm fitting to tear into them. Well, the time has come. This video must end. I have had a blast filming this video. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll be doing more barbecue videos when I can fit them in my schedule. I have to do these on the weekend because I work. But anyway, I had so much fun. Thank you for watching. Check me out on Instagram, carnivore_Kip. Check me out on Facebook, Carnivore Kip. Let's grow this community. The way things are going, I may hit 8,000 subscribers pretty soon, and I think that's amazing. I think it's cool, and I appreciate all the love, all the support, most of all the prayers. God bless, guys. See you soon.